Well, hello friends, and welcome to another Ask Zach. Today, I'm going to tell you how I was able to get 20,000 subs using 2 iPhones and a $70 Rode mic. So I've gotten tons and tons of questions over the last, year and a half that I've done the show, and about how do you get your amp sounds, how do you get the sound of the show. And part of me was kind of hesitant to do it, but then finally it was like, okay, I'm just gonna throw it out there. So, because I'm not a super technical guy, but I had some help and some good advice from some important people. So I'm also going to give a little bit of the why I ended up doing this show. So there you have it. All right. Well, if you've been enjoying the show and you haven't subscribed yet, well, please go down in the corner and do so. If you've already subscribed, then I appreciate you supporting the channel. So there's tip jar information in the description, or you can go to askzach.com where you can pick up a t-shirt or a mug. If you've already done that, and if you want to continue to support the show, then you can find out about Friends of Ask Zach, which is a way to support the channel on a monthly basis. All right, enough of that. Let's dive in. So first, the why I did the show. So I had written for Vintage Guitar Magazine for, I guess, 13 or 14 years at that point. And life was just kind of chugging along well. Things were going nicely. And my good friend, Austin Skinner, that I've known since I was 20 and he was 10, and we're a lot older than that now, he kept telling me, you need to do a YouTube channel. And I had no interest. I was already doing interviews on the True Tone Lounge. And of course I was writing for Vintage Guitar Magazine. And I was just, I don't have, and I had some other playing things going on. I was just like, I don't have time to do a YouTube channel. So life as it does, it kind of twisted around and things changed. And I got really unhappy about some situations in my life. And that's when you have the opportunity to make changes. And because when everything's going great, you're probably not going to change anything because everything's going great. So things weren't going great. And so I decided I wanted to start a YouTube channel. And it just seemed so daunting because people were telling me, well, you need to buy $10,000 or $20,000 worth of gear. You need to learn how to use this software. You need to learn how to do all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. And that was just very intimidating and scary. And it made me kind of want to shut down. But while doing interviews for the True Tone Lounge, I had become friends with Keith Williams. And Keith Williams has a wonderful, amazing, huge, fantastic channel called 5 Watt World. He does these great short histories. He also does kind of some philosophical things about, what do you need? How many guitars do you need? And things like that. And I really enjoyed his show. And he was a fan of the True Tone Lounge. And I was honored, and he's, a great guy. And so I kind of stepped out and I said, hey, could I get your phone number and could I pick your brain? And he said, sure. So I talked to him and I said, hey, I want to do a YouTube channel. And I was afraid to even say that because it's kind of like saying, hey, I want to compete with you, which in a way we are, but in many ways we're not, because it's not like we're traveling down the same road, trying to, do the exact same kind of thing. So Keith was very kind and imparted a lot of wisdom. And one of his great bits of wisdom that I cling to this day is just use what you have. Do you have an iPhone? And I said, yes. And he said, well, do an episode with an iPhone. He said, now know this, your first episodes, you will soon hate them because you will have learned a lot from them. So that's how we learn, is we do. So those first episodes that I've done, I don't really like to watch them because I did them and then I learned a lot from my mistakes. But I'm not going to like take them down, and they're out there. So, but I started out just using an iPhone, just a single iPhone, and an iPhone 10. And it was, its internal mic was capturing my voice and the sound of my amp. And the first thing I learned was that, I need to have a better sound, but I still don't want to invest in a bunch of stuff because I don't know whether I want to do this for long term yet or not. I don't know whether people are going to even like my show. So I thought the amp sounded pretty good, through the iPhone mic. But the big problem was my voice, because a little room sound on a guitar or a guitar amp or an instrument sounds nice. However, when you hear a lot of room sound with a voice, it loses its impact. It's not as authoritative sounding. So I found a $70 Rode mic that with a little converter, I could plug it into my iPhone 10 and I could use my wife's iPhone for audio. So at this point, I'm using an iPhone 10 to record the video and it's capturing the audio for my amp. Then I'm using a second iPhone that's connected to a Rode, kind of lapel mic. And it's going to another iPhone that's just using the voice recorder, program that it's nothing fancy. It's just, it's just one of the apps that comes on the iPhone. And so now at that point, I had to start enlisting some help. And so I had a friend that would take the time to edit them, in that, he would basically switch audio between the two different sources. So when I was playing, you'd get the audio off the iPhone that's doing video also. And then when I was talking, it would take the audio recording, track and use that. So then, so there was that bit of editing. Now I have to do a brief aside here and say, most episodes I do in one take. I don't do a lot of editing, because I don't know how to do a lot of editing. And I didn't want that to be something that stopped me. So in the beginning, I always did episodes that would just be a one take. There's no edits, there's no cuts, no anything. They would just, we would add on the bumper at the front and the back of me playing the Ask Zach theme, and that was it. Otherwise, it's just one take, no edits. Now, since then, I have had some episodes where, for playing examples or comparisons, where I've had some edits and things like that. But most of the time, an episode is one take. So I found it immediately by switching to where I had the lapel mic. And of course, I tape it to my chest. So it's under my t-shirt. And I just use, I use some tape, and I stick it to my chest. And then I have the cord going down beside me. And so at my feet is my wife's iPhone 10. And then, of course, and now I have an iPhone 12 that I'm using now, and that produces a higher quality video. But that's how I got started. I got started with just a single iPhone, and then I added a second one. And at the beginning, I started out in January of 2020, I had 70 subscribers. Okay. And I started putting out 2 episodes a week because, I was trying to get people to subscribe, because you're trying to monetize. And of course, to monetize, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and you have to have like 10,000 hours of views. So to get there quicker, I was putting out 2 episodes a week. And it was challenging, but because I've spent a lifetime in the guitar world, working for True Tone, working for Brad Paisley, writing for a guitar magazine, doing all this research, all these interviews I've done, I was just downloading. I didn't have to do a lot of research. I could just punch out a bunch of episodes. And so that's what I did. And the reason I did it was when people were going to check out my channel, I didn't want them to see 2 or 3 videos and that's it. I wanted them to see 10 to 20 videos. And to do that, I had to really churn them out in the beginning. And so I did that. And lo and behold, I was able to monetize about 2 months in. And that was pretty quick. And I just, one thing I learned about the importance of thumbnails, how, you have to have a thumbnail, and titles, all these things is just as important as the content that you're creating. Is like, you have to have good thumbnails and you have to have good titles. Yet you don't want to be clickbaitish. So there's a fine line in there. And so another thing that happened was you learn that you need to have different streams of income, to make it, make sense. And, for the amount of work that you're doing. And frankly, people don't understand sometimes how little and I don't want to be horribly derogatory, but basically for every 1,000 views that you get somewhere in between $3 and $5 for every 1,000 views. And so you have to be a really big channel and get a lot of views to make good money. So I thought I was going to have to get, way up there before I started adding merch. Well, again, Keith Williams from 5 Watt World, he told me, go ahead and start merch. And I only had like maybe 2,000 subs at that point, but I did it. And those people, they were just waiting to support me. And I was very appreciative of everyone that did that. And they bought a lot of merch. I added a tip jar. And, people started putting money in there and started, supporting me. And, and then I've been able to continue to do this as a really fun, project that's really been a lot of fun for me. It's been especially fun over the last, 2 years to get to know a lot of you via email. Some of you I've met up with you in person. Some guys I've given Zoom, guitar lessons to, or I've talked to. I've met all sorts of great people through this. Also, it finally came to the point where this became, where I didn't have enough time to continue to write for Vintage Guitar Magazine. So a couple months ago, I gave my resignation to Alan Greenwood, who's the publisher of Vintage Guitar Magazine, and to Ward Meeker, the editor. So I had written for that magazine for 15 years, and it had been a wonderful situation, and I'm very grateful to both of them. But I was able to build up enough going on with my channel that all of a sudden I didn't have enough time to do both, and it was more lucrative to continue to do something where I owned the content and had control over it, and so it was a wonderful thing. But yet I am very grateful to Alan and to Ward for all that time that I've got to write for Vintage Guitar Magazine. So this has really been a fun thing to do, and I think the lesson here is don't let anyone tell you that you need to buy, $20,000 worth of gear. Or you need to learn how to use all this stuff or what have you. If you want to do a channel, then just do it. Start doing it. And know, just like Keith Williams said, that you are not going to like those first episodes. You're going to hate them because you're going to grow. You're going to grow. You're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to say, oh, I hated the way my guitar sounded there, or I hated the way my voice sounded there, or I have some mannerisms that I need to get rid of. So, and it's really important to watch your shows and learn from them. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from the things you're doing. Don't just, throw them out there. But thank you to everyone that has supported the show. And if you're inspired by this to do your own show, well, please do it. And please send me a link when you put out your first episode so that I can check it out, give you a thumbs up, and write, hopefully, out, most assuredly, a nice comment. All right, guys. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. One quick aside, the thing I was playing at the beginning is a variation of a tune that I was having to relearn to play a gig with Paul Bogart, and I just love this this kind of drop D thing, and then you kind of leave the first string open. This. And, the fact that you can, pull it up an octave and kind of, give it a little rattle there. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.